We are doing 1-1, which is variables and expressions. So we're going to start with just defining some of those things. So if you look at that first bullet, that first dot, do you know what a symbol, usually a letter that represents the values of a variable quantity is? What do we call that? A symbol or a letter, when a letter takes the place of a number. It's in the title. It's a variable, right? So this first one here is a variable. Sorry, I don't have the best pen right now, which means my handwriting is real bad. So some examples of a variable would just be any letter. You could call it, a lot of times we call it X, or N is a pretty common variable, but it can be any letter, okay? It's really just a placeholder. It's just really holding the place of whatever number is going to go there. So that would be a few examples of a variable, okay? X or N or T. Next bullet down, a blank expression, okay? This is called an algebraic expression. So it looks like algebra. But you have an IC at the end. An algebraic expression is like a math sentence, kind of, not a sentence, math phrase with one or more variables. So it's not going to have an equal sign in it, okay? There's no equal signs in an algebraic expression, but it will have symbols or variables and numbers in it. So something like x minus 2, for instance, that's an algebraic expression, okay? Or something like 5 divided by n. That's an algebraic expression. Anyone want to try to give me a different algebraic expression? If those are both algebraic expressions, can you think of another option? Yeah, Brooklyn.
3 plus t.
3 plus d. Is it d or t? 3 plus t. 3 plus t would work. Okay, so those are algebraic expressions. They have numbers, they have variables, and we're just putting them together with some operation. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Okay. The next one down is not an algebraic expression now. It's a numerical expression. What do you hear there in the word numerical? Or what do you see? What does it make you think of? Kind of like number, right? We're missing a B, but numerical is representing numbers. So it's a math phrase involving numbers and operational symbols. What I mean by operational symbols is a plus sign, a minus sign, multiplication, or division. So when it has plus, minus, multiplication, and division, okay, those are the operational symbols. So this is really, I mean, the sky is the limit with these. A numerical expression could be 2 plus 7. Okay, we have numbers and we have some operation between them. Do you want to turn your desk around? That would make things a lot easier for you, huh? Oh, did you get the paper?
Yeah.
Oh, from who?
I forgot.
That was so nice of you. Why don't you just come sit over here then? You won't need that. Then you're not craning your neck the whole time. So that's a numerical expression, okay? Can someone give me another numerical expression?
5 minus 3.
5 minus 3 would be a numerical expression, yes. Or 6 divided by 2, okay? So using addition, using subtraction, using multiplication, or using division, just numbers included in that, okay? Okay, you are going to see in these problems little phrases or words that you may or may not know what they stand for, what they represent at this time. So we're just going to talk through some of those to make sure that you know what each one means. When you hear more than, like X is more than 7. More than, that's not a good, no. x more than 7 would be a better way to say it. So x more than 7, what are we talking about? What operation? Is that addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? When we say more than, that's addition, okay? So whenever you see the phrase more than, you need to think addition. So what's less than? Subtraction, okay? Do you know what product is? If I say the product of 3 and n, what are you doing? Multiplication, okay? So whenever it's product, you're multiplying. And then what's quotient? That's division. Okay, so quotient is division, and then difference? That's subtraction, right? The difference between x and 7 would be x minus 7, okay? Okay, so here's a little rule that you really got to make sure you follow. Whenever you're writing an algebraic expression, like if I said the product of 2 and x, you're going to go in the order it's given, 2 times x, okay? So if I said the product of 2 and x, that's 2x. If I said the quotient of x and 7, I'm saying x divided by 7, because that's the order I gave it to you in. But there are two, more than and less than, that technically flip-flop them. Now, with more than, it doesn't matter, because when you add, do you remember the commutative property? You can add 2 plus 7 or 7 plus 2, and you will always get the same value, right? So with more than, it doesn't really matter if you flip them, but I always just tell people if you keep more than flipped, then it helps you flip less than, and with less than, you have to flip them, okay? So if I said, for instance, 7 less than x, okay? The way I actually write that is not 7 minus x, it's x minus 7. And if you do that backwards, you're gonna get very different answers. So just make sure whenever you see less than or more than, that you flip-flop the order, okay? Everything else you'll put in the order that it's given. Question on that? Okay. So we're gonna try some of these. Write an algebraic expression. So if you look at letter A there, it's 8 more than x. Remember, this is one of those switch 'em ones. So what's that going to look like? X plus 8, right? 8 more than x is x plus 8. Okay. Letter B, the difference of y and 4. What will that look like? Y minus 4. Difference is minus, and you put them in the order they're given. Y minus 4. Okay, product is what? Multiplication. So the product of 2 and the number n is just going to be 2n. Remember when you multiply, you don't have to put the symbol in between. You can just put the 2 next to each other, right? Unless it's 2 numbers. Don't put them next to each other, then you're going to just make it look like a bigger number. But 2 and n, you just say 2n is 2 times n, okay? And then the quotient of 7 and h, what's quotient? Division. So you have 2 ways you could write this. 7 divided by h, or anyone know the other way you could do it? You can't do h divided by 7. You have to put it in the order that it was given, but you can write it.
I think h over 7.
Yes, but no, the other way. 7 over h, right? So you want the top one to be your first one, and then h on bottom. Okay? Okay, so here's my question. Are those equations? Would you say this is an equation, or y minus 4 is an equation?
No.
No, why not? What makes something an equation? What do you hear in the word equation? Equal, right? So these are not equations because there's no equal sign. Okay, so in order for something to be an equation, it has to have that equal sign, right? So these are all algebraic expressions, not equations, okay? Okay, so sometimes they're gonna throw in an extra operation. There will be addition and subtraction, or addition and multiplication, or division and subtraction, right? So when we do these, it says write an algebraic expression with two operations now. You gotta be a little bit careful here, okay? Look at this letter A. 3 less than twice a number n, okay? Try to write that down as an expression right now, and we'll see if you got the right one. So 3 less than twice a number n. Anyone willing to tell me what they got? Yeah.
3 minus 2 then.
Okay, so you have a lot of it right, but there's something wrong. Anyone know what it is? Yeah.
Is it 3 minus n squared?
It's not n squared, but good try. Do you see this right here, less than? What did we say you have to do when it's more than or less than? You got to switch them, right? So this is a minus sign. Whatever is on the right of it is going to go here. Whatever's on the left of it is going to go at the back, right? So now do you see what it should look like? 2n minus 3, right? So you're going to do 2n minus 3 for that, right? The 2n would go here, the 3 would go there. Okay, so try that with B. 8 more than the quotient of 4 and a number n. So you see more than, you see quotient, you see 4 and n, and it is 8 more than the quotient of 4 and n. Try to write that down. Anyone tell me what they got? What's quotient? Division. Okay, so you can do the division sign, or you can do the division bar where you put the numbers one on top, one on bottom. Either one of those is fine. More than, I would flip it. You don't have to on this one, but I just like to for the sake of consistency. So it's plus 8 at the end, right? The beginning of it is the quotient of 4 and n. So quotient being division, you can either do 4 over n plus 8, or you can do 4 divided by n plus 8. Okay, so either one of those is fine. I usually do this one, just because that's how you'll see it more often in questions, but totally up to you. How are we doing so far? This should all feel like review, hopefully, right? We're going to do a lot of review at the beginning of the semester here. All right, C, the product. What's product? Times. The product of 9 and the sum. What's sum? The sum of 5 and n. Now this one's a little bit tricky again, because it's saying the product of, and your two things you're taking the product of. So it's the product of 9 and the sum, right? So you're multiplying 9 and then whatever sum we have. Well, the sum is 5 plus n. So what's that going to look like? You're going to leave it in the order it is because it's not a more than or a less than, right? So it's going to be 5 plus n. So we know there's a 5 plus n because it's a sum. And you're multiplying by 9, but that, Izzy has it, okay? You have to put it in parentheses because we're multiplying by that whole sum, right? So it's the product of 9 and the sum of 5 and n would look like that, okay? All right, example 3. You're going to do the reverse of what we've been doing. So they're going to give you the expression, the algebraic expression. You put it into words. And there's not one right answer here. There's usually several ways you could say it, but we'll see what you guys come up with. So for this first one, it's 3x. How would you write that as a phrase? 3 times x, is that what you said? 3. You can't say 3 is the product of x, but you can say the product of 3 and x, right? So that would be 1, the product of 3 and x. Okay, or you can say 3 times x would be another way to say it. Okay, how about the second one? There's a lot of ways you can say this one too. What'd you say? You can say x is less than 7. Yep, that's the fancy way to do it. You know what? We're not going to say is, because that is going to imply an inequality. We're going to say x less than 7. Okay, so x less than 7 would be one way to do it. Do you know what I mean by if you say x is less than, you're saying x is less than 7, right? Which is different. Okay, so don't put the is in there when you do that. Just say x less than 7. Yeah. What's another way you could say that one? The other way, right? 7 minus x, you could say. What if you use the word difference? How would you say it then? The difference of 7 and x. Okay, so those 3 are all options. You choose which one makes the most sense to you. They're all great. Okay, last one. What would you do there? I would say the simplest one is to say x divided by 4. Okay, so we can say x divided by 4, or what's another way you could say it? The what? The quotient. So you would say the quotient of x and 4. Okay? Any questions on that?